Hello everyone, John from Nintendo Life here, and today we're reviewing Disney Magical World 2 Enchanted Edition for Nintendo Switch. But these are not my words and opinions, as this review was written for NintendoLife.com by Ollie Reynolds and was adapted to video by me. Anyway, it's time for my solo song. Don't cut me off. Don't cut me off! That could have been my voice. Since Disney now owns a vast selection of major pop culture properties, many of which permeate our lives on a near daily basis, it can be easy to forget the characters that make up the heart of Disney. We're talking Mickey Mouse, Minnie Mouse, Donald Duck, Goofy. Remember those? In recent years, such characters have been largely tied to third-party franchises like Kingdom Hearts when it comes to video games. In Disney Magical World 2 Enchanted Edition, some of the company's most enduring characters take center stage in a game that feels very much like Disney's answer to Animal Crossing. Originally released on 3DS back in 2016, the Switch version of this sequel remains largely the same in terms of content, but the visuals have been given a nice lick of paint. You could say the game has been enchanted, or remastered. Up to you. At the start, you're given an opportunity to create your character. There's customizable options, or you can import your Mii. We weren't too impressed with the selection of facial or hair options, so we opted to import a Mii character. A word of warning here though, whatever original colours you picked for your Mii likely won't translate perfectly into the game. This writer's hair looks considerably more grey than it really is. A bad omen perhaps. You're then launched into what feels like the most lengthy tutorial in existence. For context, the aim of the game is to collect stickers by performing tasks in the castle town of Castleton. The first 18 are labelled as recommended stickers, and are all dished out as you're introduced to the game's core concepts and gameplay features. When compared to Animal Crossing, which introduces new ideas over the course of literal days, unless you're a ruddy cheat, Disney Magical World 2 unleashes nearly everything in one go. For younger players in particular though, it's a good starting point. Once you've completed the recommended sticker list, the game effectively tells you to live your days in Castleton however you wish. There's an undeniable feeling of relief at this point, but after such a linear opening segment, it might feel a tad daunting at first. After all, having been introduced to most of the game's core concepts within the first few hours, where on earth are you meant to start? Thankfully, the game does a good job at curating certain tasks to prevent you from feeling overwhelmed. Much like Animal Crossing, the residential area of the game features a notice board that contains vital information like recommended tasks, upcoming events, and more. There's always something to be getting on with, whether it's cooking up a storm at the local cafe, tackling some ghosts in the castle vaults, or collecting crafting materials for new furniture. The castle vaults provide an interesting change of pace from the rest of the game, requiring you to move around through a series of small arenas to fight off waves of ghosts. For this you get a bunch of loot, including the prize loot. The combat here is pretty basic. You have a magic wand to fight off the ghosts, and you can either target a single one by tapping the A button, or hold down the button for a more powerful attack that encompasses all enemies within a certain radius. You'll gain additional ones that boast their own special attacks as you progress through the game's various worlds, but the combat remains pretty basic throughout and rarely poses much of a challenge. But the castle vaults are just one of many tasks ahead of you in Disney Magical World 2. After amassing a certain number of stickers, you'll also gain access to portals that warp you to specific worlds within Disney's wider universe. The first of these is Lilo and Stitch, but you'll also meet characters from Frozen, Snow White, The Little Mermaid, and more. Each world introduces its own little tasks for you to complete, and while most are variations on the game's main concepts, they nevertheless add a good bit of variety. In terms of its remastered visuals, Disney Magical World 2 undoubtedly stands head and shoulders above its 3DS counterpart. Characters look more defined, colours pop, and the game just does a marvellous job of showcasing that distinctive Disney feel. Nevertheless, there are aspects that frankly look a bit weird. Seeing your Mii standing next to otherwise well-detailed characters is an odd juxtaposition. Additionally, some of the background assets lack detail, and you'll often see 2D sprites for trees and buildings instead of full 3D objects. Our last gripe with the game is a bit nitpicky, but worth mentioning regardless. The game places a lot of emphasis on photo opportunities, often prompting you to strike a pose or line up with classic characters for the perfect snapshot. That was no doubt a great addition to the original 3DS game, and while there are still lots of opportunities in the Switch version, the requirement to hold down L and R to take a photo is rendered obsolete by the Switch's built-in capture feature. It makes this function feel a little bit weird. Disney Magical World 2 Enchanted Edition is a fine remaster of a 3DS game that many of us missed the first time around. For players both young and old who love the classic Disney characters, spending time in Castleton may well prove a joyous experience. Some aspects, chiefly the poor character creation tool and rather basic combat, could have done with a bit more TLC in this enhanced version. But if you're after a decent life simulation game, this is a nice, Disney-flavoured addition to an already thriving genre. We here at Nintendo Life give Disney Magical World 2 Enchanted Edition a 7 out of 10. Thank you so much for watching, and why don't you go to that subscribe button and just make a lovely wish. Wish your heart away, and maybe it will come true. What was your wish? You can tell me. I will see you next time. Bye everyone. Hang on, the video's still going. That must mean it's time for John's thoughts and opinions. So I actually did play the original 3DS version back when it first came out. In fact, I reviewed it. This feels like the exact same game, just a little bit prettier. And you know what's kind of funny? Is in the tutorial screenshots, they use the original 3DS screens, so you can kind of see how it used to look in these little tutorial screens. But yeah, for the audience, this is actually a really cozy and fun game. If you just want to chill out with your favorite Disney characters, like spend the day with Minnie Mouse, then go for it. It's a more objective-based Animal Crossing. There's always tasks to do. And you can definitely live your life as you want it. You have your own house that you can decorate with furniture and wallpaper, and you can even have a job at a local cafe. There's definitely lots of things you can do just to chill out in the world and do whatever you want. But you can also focus a bit more, which Animal Crossing doesn't really do. But I will say, if you're a younger Disney fan who saw Elsa and Anna on the box and thought, oh, I'm going to hang out in the Frozen world, that takes a little bit to get to. The game starts off very slowly with Mickey Mouse and Minnie Mouse and Chip and Dale. It takes a while to really get the grander Disney princess cast. So it's worth mentioning, you have to invest a bit of gameplay to get to those characters, but if you are a fan of it, then maybe it'll be worth it for you. It definitely still looks like a 3DS game. I mean, things are definitely much sharper and higher resolution, but you can see the roots. But you know what? There's a certain charm to that clean, low-poly look. I kinda dig it. But I will say the dances definitely looked better when they were masked by very few pixels. Now they're very clear, and they look a little bit stiff, especially the characters' faces. But you probably won't go into this game expecting a masterpiece, so if all you want is to chill out with Disney characters and do what you want and build your own house, then I think you already know that this is a game for you. It's definitely high quality, and Animal Crossing fans will have a lot to love in here too. I give it a thumbs up!